may our minds be fertile soil in which they might grow strong and true. Amen. Thanks, Joan.
Our first reading. It's very.
What's that doing? Are you doing it over there? I'm trying to do it from over here.
Oh, is that all right?
No, that's fine. You go.
Yes. But two control freaks. Our first reading is from 2 Corinthians 6, verses 1 to 13. As we work together with him, we urge you also not to accept the grace of God in vain. For he says, at an acceptable time I have listened to you, and on a day of salvation I have helped you. See, now is the acceptable time. See, now is the day of salvation. We are putting no obstacle in anyone's way, so that no fault may be found with our ministry. But as servants of God, we have commended ourselves in every way, through great endurance, in afflictions, hardships, calamities, beatings, imprisonments, riots, labours, sleepless nights, hunger, by purity, knowledge, patience, kindness, holiness of spirit, genuine love, truthful speech, and the power of God, with the weapons of righteousness for the right hand and for the left, in honour and dishonour, in ill repute and good repute. We are treated as impostors and yet are true, as unknown and yet are well known, as dying and see we are alive, as punished and yet not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing and yet possessing everything. We have spoken frankly to you, Corinthians. Our heart is wide open to you. There is no restriction in our affections, but only in yours. In return, I speak as to children. Open wide your hearts also. And the Gospel reading is from Mark 4, verses 35 to 41. On that day, when evening had come, Jesus said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" This is the word of the Lord.
A couple of terrific readings. One from Corinthians I really just will touch on. But it's obvious that Paul's writing to the Corinthians here, and he's coming to the end of a couple of letters, and he really wants to put out there what situation they've been in. And however you read it, they've been in a tough place. They've had afflictions, hardships, calamities, beatings, imprisonments, riots, labours, sleepless nights, hunger, etc. And they have somehow found in the midst of that a way to maintain their centering on God, I guess. I love the bit at the end, which is actually quite telling. It says, "We've spoken openly and frankly to you, Corinthians. Our heart is wide open to you. There is no restriction in our affections, only yours." So, in those two words, in those four words there, but only in yours, and in the afterwards, open wide your hearts also. It's obvious that the Corinthians, although we've loved those letters to the Corinthians, they're written with a sense of you guys really need to get your act together. You need to open your hearts to us. Enough of that one. The other reading. Well, it tells a fantastic story. Oops, now don't there. Yeah. You know, of course, that in biblical terms, I know this has the sense of Jesus telling a story that had happened, but there's layers and layers in stories like this, you know. So there's a layer of history, but there is also a layer in which the readers who read this would have seen the symbols and signs within the story that's talked to them about their relationship to the story. And a boat became very quickly the symbol of the church and has been so since then. So, you know, they're in a boat and the boat's in a storm. What does that say? They're in the church and things are raging around them. I guess during this time there would have been all sorts of afflictions like Paul was saying to the Corinthians. And Jesus is not asleep at the wheel, he's asleep in the corner, somewhere over there. Asleep in the church, maybe, theoretically. But the gospel writer is trying, and you know, like this here, just give me 5 more minutes. The gospel writer is trying to bring out the level of feeling that was in that. The context was interesting too. It was evening. All day long Jesus had taught the large crowds, using parables as bridges to their hearts. His pulpit was a boat. He'd actually preached from that boat, providing a way to connect with the throngs without getting crushed by them. But as darkness was about to overtake them, he told the disciples he wanted to go to the other side of the lake, which is another way of saying, like a bit of peace, please. I've been working hard all day. So leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. He'd given of himself all day, intellectually, emotionally, physically and spiritually. And so he fell into a deep sleep, a peaceful sleep. It must have been the mother of all squalls or storms, because remember some of the disciples were seasoned fishermen. So, you know, they would have avoided them, but they were used to them in some ways. So when they say they felt they were going to perish, they're not landlubbers like me. They were seasoned people on the lake. But they woke Jesus up with a bit of a rebuke. Hey teacher, don't you care? We're going to die here. Those words, Jesus, don't you care? If we're really honest as Christians, there are sometimes we say those things too. I find it interesting that he didn't actually respond to their fear with anger. I reckon sometimes the way we read it, there's anger in it, but I don't think it was that. It's almost disappointment. Instead, he responded to the peace within himself and produced a calm that impacted nature as well as the frightened disciples. And the disciples were amazed. Who is this? Even the winds and waves obey him. So part of the meaning of this story is in showing the power that Jesus had as the Son of God to control even the waves, I guess even the storms of life. The questions that remain for us today are similar. Master, don't you care? Was the miraculous rescue from the forces of nature limited to the days when Jesus was present on earth? Is God really sovereign over the universe, including the elements? And if so, why doesn't God stop wars? Why do children suffer from cancer? Why does violence invade homes and splinter relationships? Why do boundaries of exclusiveness divide us over race, colour, sexuality, belief and all sorts of things? If I had the answer to that one, I'd have a very full church. But I was reflecting on the reading this week, and I actually came across an article by a friend of mine, Danny Moore. She's a chaplain in Castlemaine. In it, she says that she joins with others every week for an hour of silent meditation. Something that have you ever tried silent meditation? I can't get past 5 minutes before I'm... Anyway, but she does that every week for an hour. They begin with an introductory sentence which one person chooses and takes time to choose what that sentence will be. And last week, Danny chose this sentence. Storms rage about me. I calm my heart and send out ribbons of peace. Peace. She said that verse reverberated through her week, reminding her of the truth of the world and her role in it. Storms rage about me. We know this. We see it, we hear it, all about us. When a loved one is facing death or crippling injury, when we see a grieving parent on the news holding their dead child, like a few weeks ago when a whole mountain collapses and obliterates an entire village, when structural violence in its many forms causes inequality and trauma. And what about the storms within us? Fear, rage, shame, our own illness, our own pain, or our own grief. You know your own storm, as I know mine, and what you face. Recognising these as a part of living doesn't make them go away. And it doesn't mean we become complacent or uncaring. Danny said, but if I say to myself, storms rage about me and within me, something is born, something is transformed. I hesitate to even name it. Acceptance, endurance, a letting be. Something happens within myself as I acknowledge the storms. And there becomes an openness for the next part of the quote, and I reckon the next part of our story today. I calm my heart and send out ribbons of peace. Peace. You see, Jesus was calming the storms in that place, but he was also, as he always did in a teaching moment, was telling them how they needed to be in this space, what they needed to seek to do and be. And sending out ribbons of peace, I think, is a good analogy for that. I calm my heart and send out ribbons of peace. If all we're doing is holding resentment, anger, frustration and fear, we can't be present to others and to ourselves. But if we can create a moment of pause between event and reaction, then we have something to offer. As I said, I don't really have answers to those bigger questions. I know God is in the world, and I know there are storms, and I know that God wishes us to be ones who spread ribbons of peace. I love that phrase, ribbons of peace. It suggests a reverberation extending out from ourselves in all directions, a rippling of compassion and love that owns no bounds, that moves beyond ourselves to others, who in turn allow it to resonate through their lives to others. It suggests a way for us to know the peace of faith in the midst of the storm of violence. I wonder what these words can offer you and how they might echo in your life. We're not going to meditate for an hour. You might be relieved to know, but I do invite you we'll take a moment of quiet, and then I want us to repeat this together, if you feel like you would like to, with me 3 times. Storms rage about me. I calm my heart and send out ribbons of peace. Peace. Storms rage about me. I calm my heart and send out ribbons of peace. Peace. Storms rage about me. I calm my heart and send out ribbons of peace. Peace. I'm going to invite you to do now. We're going to play a piece of music just for a few minutes. And all these ribbons here, you know now what they symbolise. So I'm inviting you to come forward if you would like to. And you don't have to wear it, you don't have to do anything with it, maybe take it with you home. Just cut a bit of ribbon and take it with you as a sign of the ribbons of peace in the midst of the storm. I'm going to play a lovely peaceful piece of music that I found while we do that. It's a rather beautiful piece of music, don't you think? Yeah, no, I was thinking, Fiona, you could play along.
See the cello.
And the cello, yeah. This song also occurred to me. I know we've done it before, but I just thought it might be a nice one to sing. For those who don't know it, it's pretty easy to pick up. It's appropriate, I feel, for me because I actually, it's being Refugee Week, because this was the song that the guitarist played when I was about to be arrested with a group of others for a sit-in about for asylum seekers. It goes like this. Will there be a time when greed and violence ceases and the grieving worth is at peace? You can sing that with me. Will there be a time when greed and violence ceases and the grieving earth is at peace? This chorus goes. Be not afraid, for I am with you always. Be not afraid, for I am with you always. Our gift is small, our work is slow and humble, and the world does not know your peace. Our gift is small, our work is slow and humble, and the world does not know your peace. Be not afraid, for I am with you always. Be not afraid, for I am with you always. Lord, is there one whose care will ever be there in my hour of need? Lord, is there one whose care will ever be there in my